My name's Daniel Rose. This is for the purpose of the MVQ Level 6 Interpreting B module. This is a simulated assignment, BSL to English, with my father, David Wolf Rose. Hello there. My name's David. I'm a lecturer at university and have been for the past 18 years. What I wanted to talk to you about was how students, firstly, apply for our course. We've got the two ways. The first is UCAS and the second is called clearing. Firstly, we'll focus on UCAS and what exactly entails. This is obviously linked to technology. An example would be maybe obviously a student's just finished their A-levels at the age of 18 and they've come out with 4 A-levels. The 4 topics being art, business studies, biology and physics. Maybe they've got an A in the first, a B in the second, a B in the third and an E in the fourth. So UCAS have their own system that can then translate these grades into points. So we've got 100 for A, 80 for B, 60 for C, a D will be 40 and an E will be 20 and so on. So the system have got their own formula where they create these into the form of points and see what their overall total is. We at university, obviously interpreting or deaf studies, they must meet the requirement of 220 to 240 points or more. If a student, say they're 18, recently done their A-levels, and altogether they've got 230 points, no problem whatsoever. They then complete their form on UCAS, make the request to join our university. But then the UCAS form is actually quite important. You have to obviously word it quite well. And we've got a personal statement. A personal statement is quite an important part of the application process. They're quite young, but we need to know their experience. Do they live on their own? Do they still live with their parents? Obviously mother and father or grandparents will still look after them. And maybe feel a little bit mollycoddled. So the personal statement is there to show your independence, your eagerness, you're willing to work, you're willing to achieve the degree. We need to know that, and it needs to be very positive. Sometimes they have experience, maybe example like an apprenticeship where they've got some experience, or maybe working on a Saturday, or maybe doing some voluntary work in a random sector. And this experience, they then add up and it has a positive effect on the application. So that's not a problem getting into university, but it obviously is good to have a good personal statement to show your eagerness. There might be another person that's done their exams recently, but it's got C, D, E, and altogether the 4 A-levels have come together, but 200 points, and it's not enough. We don't so much put a block on their application, but we'll invite them to come to the university just for an informal discussion, kind of like an interview. And why is that? Because it's important to give them another chance. Maybe their school experience wasn't great. Maybe the family life has been a bit of a struggle. Maybe they're in a trouble linked to the family. Maybe they might have a viable reason as to why they've not been able to do as well as they could on the educational format. Right, we'll go back then. So we got UCAS, over 220 points, you're in, no problem. This, we have to kind of give them an essay, which is another way of getting into university. So maybe the topic will be, can hearing people live in the deaf community? Or maybe can the deaf community live in the hearing world? Question. But we expect the written standard to be good, to be clear, to be academically referenced, to be supported by research. Because we at university, as university lecturers, we train them to be interpreters. We don't want to have to teach them how to write, how to reference. They should already have that knowledge. So we look at this as proof. If it's good, fantastic. But sometimes we'll check their English skills. If the skills are at university standard, it means obviously that they can possibly cope with the university assignments. So obviously we've got clearing, which is a bit different. It's normally focused on mature students. Really, it's quite funny. Here in the hearing world, a mature student would be around 50, 60 and thereafter. That's what's classed as a mature student, whereas university is very different. Mature means 21 and over, which is incredible really, but we have to label it anyway. So 21 and over is the catchment. So this is for exactly, maybe they finished school 10 years ago, 15, maybe even 20 years ago. It means that their skills in this day and age of education might not be enough. Maybe they've got the work experience, the life experience, the world knowledge. And these are all quite different skills as well that can then reinforce their academic skills. My cohort of colleagues, my group of students, we've got half students that are maybe quite young, and then we've got another half which, really are 21, but classed as a mature student and older, and they've got their life experience, their world knowledge, time management skills, good family knowledge, and obviously the younger students can then learn from them and they from them, because they might know how to write better, they might know how to, and obviously you've got the older students might be able to cope and give them a bit of life experience, a bit of a life lesson really, so they can work together, and it's really quite a nice mix. And the elder students can ask them, how am I going to write this, how am I going to write that, and then the young students can go and say, how do I better my time management, etc. And it's really quite a nice mix. So clearing usually happens around August time. So the exams finish, usually, the A-level exam results come out around the second week of August, which means UCAS, which is working as hard as they can, and any spaces left goes into clearing. So any spaces left on the course. So clearing is then used as a secondary tool, to get an extra 23 students maybe, because every year there's maybe 1 or 2, 3 students that say, no, I don't want to do interpreting, it's not for me. And then we bring these clearing students in as well to kind of fill the mould. So it's really quite amazing every year, and obviously I'm meeting new people all the time, I'm meeting with new skills, and it's really quite nice to see, it's quite exciting, but it's nice to see, a young student that's maybe the age of 18, and you see their development and come into quite a hot interpreter, which is really quite good. And you've got someone older that was a solicitor or a bank manager or a doctor, and then come into the interpreting profession, so it's really quite amazing. So the course we'll talk about now, and my course, exactly what is it? What does the course comprise of? We've got modules, so we've got 6 modules in the first year, and we've got a 3-year programme, so altogether there's 18 modules, so 6 per year. So the first 6 is normally focusing on your practical skills, your voiceover, and how to cope really with university life, your professional ethics. And the second year was then focusing on the skills a little more so, looking for a level 6 language, your linguistics, and the voiceover, the simultaneous, the consecutive processes, and then start researching into an array of things. And then third year is comprised of work placement, you get real life experience, you have to do your project, your dissertation, and your work experience is really quite amazing. Most students have their work experience, maybe this person will go to Solihull Deaf School, and we shadowing their interpreters, their CSWs, and then most students do actually get an offer post-work placement, which is really quite amazing. So what's work placement for really? It's really to show, it's really for the students to see that's what interpreting is in a real life scenario, because obviously university is more quite theory based. Obviously there's a lot of practical, but it's all simulated, it's not real. Whereas work placement, they're chucked into a real life scenario. So sometimes our teaching they might not get, but when you're in work placement, it all comes together. Oh, I see how it relates to the ethics, how to cope, coping strategies, what I should do, what I shouldn't do. And I'm always encouraging the students to register on the NRCPD, which is always quite important. It's just to show proof that we're working in a safe working environment governed by our organising body, the NRCPD. And also we encourage them to join ASLE as well. ASLE offer an array of things, training, maybe you want to get into the legal sector, the mental health sector. Maybe the student has a problem with their wrists, RSI, repetitive strain injury. So they can then teach them how to change their lifestyle to adapt to the interpreting world. And we have workshops nationwide, all over the UK, and we encourage students to go to these meetings as well, to gain insight in the interpreting world. You know, it's the experience, and obviously we're talking CPD, the Career Development Programme, and CPD is also important. It's like freshen up your knowledge, polishing up your skills, because you don't want students to interpret the same thing over and over again. You want a challenge, you want your brain to be motivated. Now, I know myself as an interpreter, I'm a relay interpreter. I know full well how important it is to update your knowledge, update your skills. For example, recently I went to a tribunal and obviously their policy had changed quite recently, and this took me by surprise. Now, I didn't know what this policy meant, and it just meant reflecting your skills, which meant that I just needed to go to the training, go to this workshop, to have this intensive training, to learn the new regulations, the new legal, the new court jargon, the new acts that were implemented. And it really, a good example before, the DDAT Act, I know very, very well, the Disability Act, and obviously we have the Equality Act as well that was soon implemented. And it's obviously all these policies and procedures that I need to be aware of to be able to provide a thorough interpreting service. So really we've got the life experience of years and years and years. Myself, I'm deaf.